Bold, irreverent, unusual, funny. Jacquie Somerville isn't your typical motivator. A born storyteller and a self titled normophobe, she will probably shock you and make you laugh. Jackie's mission in life is to tear down society's obsession with finding a soulmate and replace it with the firm belief that the key to real love, success, wealth, and adventure lies in being your own soulmate. When you become your own soulmate, you embrace the power and confidence to live an exciting life, generate financial wealth, and love deeply with an open heart, no longer fearing rejection or failure. Jacquie draws on a lifetime of challenging and rewarding experiences, decades of pushing the envelope, taking big risks, manifesting abundance, and challenging the status quo. She's been married a few times, immigrated twice, been fat, slim, broke, rich, and followed her gut to a life of excitement, adventure, passion, and purpose. And thank you so much for being here today, Jacquie.
You're so welcome, Zephan. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'd love to talk about this idea of, being your own soulmate. Where did this come from originally?
Yeah, well, this came from the fact that I was raised like so many women and men too, but I think predominantly women, that because I had such big dreams when I was a kid, I mean, I had huge dreams, right? I wanted to have a thoroughbred horse stud farm, and wanted to have my own airplane, and I wanted lots of big stuff. And I was told repeatedly that in order for those big dreams to come true, that I would need to marry a rich man. That was literally the message of my childhood by well-meaning people, loving and well-meaning people. But that was the overwhelming message. And so what happens is you doubt yourself and you start to believe what you hear. And so I just started to believe that I didn't have what it took to do any of those things on my own, that I actually needed someone else for that. And, over the course of the decades of my life, I've realized there's a quote that Einstein actually said that doesn't get quoted very often because it's not convenient for people, I don't think, to actually remember this one. But this is my favorite quote of his. He said, if you want a life of happiness, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. I might be misquoting a word or two, but basically that's the gist of it. If you want a life of happiness, tie it to a goal, not to people or things, because it's putting an awful lot of pressure and responsibility on other people when your happiness depends on them. It's the wrong thing. Love, that's not what love's about. Love is about open-heartedness, and it's not about fearing rejection and fearing letting go. But our society is so geared up for those things. And so we don't love with open hearts. We constantly sort of in fear, and we hold on and we ruin our relationships because of that. And so many women especially never live up to their full potential or even go for their potential because they believe that their happiness depends on finding somebody else and not on actually going for their potential and having their own purpose. And it's the best definition I've ever heard of happiness is the joy you feel when you are in pursuit of your full potential. That's the definition of happiness. It's the joy you feel when you're in pursuit of your full potential. And when you're doing that, you attract love. This is not about not having, a partner in your life or love in your life at all. God knows, like, I'm like everybody. I love that stuff. I love being in love and in lust. I love it. So this is not about not having that. It's about having it all. But you get the best love when you're your own soulmate. When you're totally secure and you're pursuing your full potential, that's when love is real.
I mean, this is something huge that I've even explored just in the past 2 years since exiting a relationship was, I feel like you kind of lose a part of yourself in that relationship and you forget a little bit about who you are because your happiness kind of depended on that person. I mean, codependency is on the rise. So many people feel like, they can't do it without a significant other around.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what happens when you kind of just let go and throw caution to the wind and you are your own guide.
Totally. And I love that. Throw caution to the wind. That's the thing, we're so conditioned to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I experienced back. I was telling you, before we jumped on the call, back in November, I took a whole month off from my business and traveled the whole country and did it again in December. And I mean, we're talking sleeping on strangers' couches, hanging out with random people you meet on the street. I mean, this is the experience that I think got me to realize that I can be kind of like my own hero in a sense, my own superhero or person to look up to for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing is that you were just sort of a free spirit getting in touch with yourself. And at the end of the day, a happy life depends on finding yourself, not finding the one. It's when you are feeling completely secure with who you are and living your life on purpose. That's when you are so secure that you attract incredible love from others and you're able to open your heart and give love to others. So, we've got it all wrong. We like seek the happiness in somebody else. Like when I find the soulmate, I'm going to be happy. When I find the one, I'm going to be happy. And the happiness will be short-lived in that case, because you'll wake up next to the one day, you still won't be fulfilled because you still won't have found your purpose in life. And so then you start blaming them and you think that now they're the ones who are not making you happy. So therefore the relationship ends. Whereas all the answers lay right within you all along. And that's, something your great adventure has sort of led you to that, right? Now you have so many more answers, don't you? I mean, you were telling me that earlier, and you figured out so many things when you were on your great adventure. So that's one of the keys for sure.
Now, I'm curious to hear what you think on this because, a lot of us say, or we see this all the time in news articles, right? Like 10 steps to finding your purpose or, find your purpose in a weekend.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is that your purpose is constantly changing. Like I almost say that like your purpose in life is to be happy and to live to the fullest. Because if you say that your purpose in life is to, publish a book and become an author, like I feel like a year or two from now, that might not be your intention.
True. And so many people experience this, especially people whose purpose is to be mums or to be wives or so that was their purpose right then. And a lot of times when their kids have grown up, they go, okay, now what? So you didn't make the purpose to be a great mom wrong just because now they're ready. So you're absolutely right. And I think it does change, but I think the purpose should be to constantly pursue your potential and to pursue your purpose. I think that's when you feel fulfillment, is when you're making progress every day. When you're making progress every day towards a goal or a dream that excites you, hello, like that's happiness right there.
Yeah.
So it's making so seeking the purpose brings you happiness, and that, as you say, that could be a moving target. But I think when you seek something, when you ask the questions, when you put it out there to the universe, it will guide you. The paths will change, but it will guide you as long as you're looking, actively looking. And when an opportunity comes, you take it, then you'll be guided. So yeah, I mean, I love that you brought that up. I've never really thought about that before, but you're absolutely right. Your purpose does change, and it's finding happiness in the process. That's the key. And as long as you're pursuing your potential, you're going to feel happy.
Oh yeah. And experiencing what's happening in the moment too, because I think so many people make the mistake of, really great things happen and then it's the end of the week and you're like, wow, Wednesday was a really good day. Well, why are you realizing this on Saturday night? You know? And so too many people aren't stopping to smell the roses. I was just talking to someone about this earlier today. Is like, I just called a friend of mine and he does voiceover marketing and teaches voiceover artists. And he was like, yeah, I've been stuck inside the studio all day, but you know what? I've been looking outside and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like, you know what? You really need to walk outside for like 5 minutes because it just to get yourself grounded,
Yeah. And you're so right. But I also think we need to be careful about this whole obsession with feeling happy all the time and trying to, I saw this quote the other day, it said something like, don't, when it's raining or something, learn to dance in the rain, like don't bemoan it. And I thought, well, that's absolute crap when things are really, really bad. Like that's nonsense. Like there are some times in life where you just have to hold on. Hold on. It'll pass. And I'm not going to learn to dance in a damn hurricane, right? I'm just going to hold on. So the pursuit of happiness becomes an obsession that makes us unhappy a lot of the time. But you're right about living in the moment. If you're making progress towards a worthy ideal, you're having gratitude. Like that's an important one, don't you think? Like the gratitude is also brings you into the moment and grounds you. When you stop and go, okay, things aren't great. I wish that I was somewhere else. What have I got to be grateful for right now? That's so grounding. And but I think that this obsession with happiness that we have can cause us a lot of unhappiness, because I think you also have to realize that we were never meant to be happy all the time, because we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't evolve, we just wouldn't. We would stagnate if we were happy all the time. So we're not meant to be. So let's stop that obsession and learn that when we're going through the rough times, when things don't, you don't want to smell the roses and the roses smell bad, that you just hang on, right? You hold on, because you know it's going to get better. Because there's times like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there's times when someone tells me to just try and enjoy the moment, I'm like, I almost swore really badly there, but you know what I mean. I'm like, no friggin' way. I'm just holding on here. I'm riding the storm, right?
Yeah. No, it makes me think of like the saying, fall forward. Is like, even if you're failing right now so miserably, as long as it's getting you somewhere further than where you are right now, then you're in a good position.
You are, and that's the only way you're going to grow and move forward, is to stumble and fall, and is to have those hardships and so on. And when we learn to see that, then we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It makes dealing with the hardship okay. And it's like, yeah, I'm not happy right now. This really sucks. But you know what? I'm going to be fine, because I know this is leading me someplace great, and I'm getting stronger by the second. And that stuff that's really important. And then when you do that, you make progress every day towards a goal that thrills you and excites you, and you know that you're doing stuff to pursue your full potential every day. Man, you're going to lay your head down every night with a smile on your face.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I got a question. So like, when I was raised, and a lot of people in my generation were kind of raised to think, you grow up, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a good job, you hold it for 40 years, you grow a family, and like that's your life. And I know that you're a big fan of rule breaking, because this is kind of like the rule, so to speak, that's been ingrained, at least in my generation's head.
Yeah.
So what sort of rules do you like to break, and what sort of rules do you think where they just had it all wrong?
Well, I mean, that's a great one right there, right? I mean, we're all pretty much, I think all the generations before you as well, we were raised to do what we're conditioned to do, not what we're meant to do. And so we spend our lives just doing what we're conditioned to do, and we never do what we're meant to do. What are we truly meant to do? Who are we truly meant to be? I was approached by a young woman at a seminar about a year ago in California. She was a doctor. She's a 30-something doctor living in Los Angeles. And she came up to me and she said, I want to be you when I grow up. And I said, hey, you have a great life. Like, what's up? I said, you're young. You live in LA. You're a doctor. She said, there's something I want more. She said, my whole family are doctors. She said, this is just what I was meant to do. I fell into this. I didn't even think that I had options. She said, I'm miserable. My gut's telling me to do something else. So the big question I ask people is, what is your gut telling you to do? And try and sift through all that conditioning. I was conditioned that I needed to marry a rich man. Well, guess what? Of course, I ended up doing that, because our subconscious is strong.
Yeah.
But then woke up finding immense unfulfillment and unhappiness. Why? Because I was a huge disappointment to myself. I hadn't become what I was meant to be. I knew that I was not born to be somebody else's second in command. Some people are. That's their role, and they love it, and they're great at it. And that's great. I wasn't born for that. So doing it made me unfulfilled and miserable. But, so that's the thing, is always question if you're doing what you're conditioned to do rather than what you're truly meant to do. And it's always easier to do what we're conditioned to do, because it's rough to go against convention. But it's the only way to feel like fire in your belly, and just to know that you are doing what you're supposed to do on this earth. And if you died, you're not going to have regrets. I think that would be the worst thing, is to have regrets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you gotta question the norms that you were raised with. If you're not happy, if there's something eating at you, and it's not that you're not happy, but you're living in this mundane fog, that's when it becomes, okay, I'm doing what I'm conditioned to do. What am I really meant to do? And how many of those things that I was raised with am I going to have to break to get there? That's the biggest rule you have to break right there, is to break what you were conditioned to do and start following your heart, following your gut. That's the number one thing.
So, what if, this is true for everyone in that they were not born with the understanding that they can break the rules, right? Or that they can live life the way they want to. So a lot of this has been ingrained since childhood. So, 99.9% of us have to hit that reset button in order to start living the way that we want to.
Yeah.
Where do you suggest we even start? Like, let's say I've agreed with myself, I've made a pact with myself that tomorrow morning, tonight I'm going to hit the reset button, and that's how I'm going to wake up tomorrow is clean slate. I can create the life that I want. Like, where do I even begin to look? Because, we all know the compass points to true north, but when it comes to our own lives, we kind of have to talk to that internal compass because it doesn't just always point in the direction we need to go.
Yeah. And it takes work. I mean, look, no awesome life was created by an easy path, right? It takes work, it takes dedication. Now, first of all, the person that wakes up wanting to set that reset button is already a part of the way there because they have the awareness. A lot of people never even have the awareness in the first place, right? They're bumbling along, they have no awareness. If you are the person who hits that reset button, you're already a step ahead of the game. You have awareness, which is the first step to change. That's the first thing, right? Then the second thing is to start just taking small action steps, because when we do, I believe that as long as we're moving forward in a small way and we're doing our best every day to be the best that we can be, the universe conspires with us and shows us the way. We don't have all the answers from the minute you hit that reset button. You're going to be going, now what? Right? You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to have any answers. What can you do? Look at what your life right now and look at what you can change. What is doable? Maybe it's something like getting fit. Maybe it's something like changing your diet. Maybe it's consolidating your debt. I don't know. What are the doable things because once you start the ball rolling in the right direction, the answers to the bigger stuff comes. That's just the way it works. You don't have to have any of the answers. Just look at what you can change and what you can start doing better right now. And it can be the really basics that aren't even linked to what you think your dream is. That's okay. You start with the basics because that's when the universe conspires with you and shows you the way to go.
And I feel like I'm living proof of that. I mean, I know that for some people, it's hard to grasp this idea of like, well, I want to make $1 million, but I'm not going to wake up tomorrow morning making it. Well, that's not the point. You want to become successful. You're going to take one step tomorrow morning towards creating your own business, or one step towards, creating the lifestyle that you want to start living.
Absolutely. One step towards being a little better than you were yesterday. And when you work at that, when you just work at being the best you can be with what you have right now, man, that's really powerful. People don't realize because that actually takes work. It takes breaking old habits. It takes, self-discipline. It takes those things are difficult, but success doesn't come without them. So people often don't do it because of that. But those that do, and you come out the other side, man, that hard work is so worth it. That self-discipline, changing the routines, creating new habits is so worth it. And it leads you, as I said, to the bigger answers that you're looking for.
And it's crazy. The world just kind of opens up and shows it to you. It really does. I've been starting to just kind of practice this more is like I just have these orange Post-it notes that I keep on my desk. Yeah. And like I have one right here on my computer. There was a certain number that I wanted to hit for profit for the month. And I wrote down, I will attract X amount of work by this date to create a month where I earn this much total, Yeah. And I created this goal and I sat it here on the bottom of my computer screen and I read it every single day. And that's what I work towards each and every single day.
Yes. And that, that's the other important point to your question earlier about, what is it that you do? And I mentioned that, awareness, you're already a step ahead of the game and you start improving on the little things in your life that you can improve on. But, what you just said reminded me of the other critical part of this. And that is, what is the end result that you're looking for? What does it look like? So maybe it is that you want to start your own business, or you want to do something different to what you're doing now, or you want a better life. What does that life actually look like? Because you're getting crystal clear about what you want. You're writing it on the post-it note is an essential element. And at that point, you don't know how you're going to do it when you first write down what it is that you actually want. But clarity is power. So getting crystal clear on what you actually want and then taking those small steps every day to better yourself, that's when it happens. That's the magic. And it doesn't happen quickly most of the time because it's on the universe's timetable, not ours. But as long as you feel like you're working towards it, you're going to be happy in the process. And that's all
Yeah.
that matters. It's not about reaching the goal. It's about the process. It's about the things you learn, the person you become in pursuit of it.
Yeah, I mean, enjoying the journey and being there in the moment, because I feel like, the transformation is happening not, a year later when you've hit that goal of made the business. It's happening in the process. You're meeting people, you're making these changes, you're changing your life.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it is the process of getting there that way far outweighs actually the goal itself. And yeah, that's exactly right. But
I'm
once you
curious.
feel like you're making progress, you're happy, and so you just keep moving in this euphoric state. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. And I'm curious to hear from you. What would you say was maybe your hardest lesson learned? Because obviously we get knocked down a lot.
Yeah,
This is just part of the process. But I don't want everyone to come here and think, oh, well, we just woke up one morning and we woke up this way, because it's a very long process.
it
Just
absolutely.
getting, yeah. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think was your hardest learned lesson?
Wow. Gosh, I mean, there have been so many. And I think it's mostly what I said earlier about this whole notion of you don't have to be happy all the time. And that when things are really rough, because we all know they get really, really rough. And for me, I've done everything from immigrating by myself when I was 26 years old to a new country with nobody, I didn't know a living soul. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. And I'd never been to the country before. My first step into Canada was as a landed immigrant, and there I was, and it's like sink or swim. And there were some very dark times there. I never wanted to go back. Plan B was never an option for me. But I remember fainting one day soon after I got there for no apparent reason other than just severe stress.
Wow.
Those, and I didn't know a living soul, so I didn't have a support system. It was, that was a pretty dark time. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in various transactions. That's always difficult to deal with. And yes, amongst all the victories, we've all had tremendous losses. I've been through a few separations and divorces, as you mentioned in the bio. Those things are never easy. Sometimes you do feel like you've been taken down to the studs. You really do. But the main thing for people to remember is that you're not alone, because there's no adult human living on the planet that hasn't had their fair share of downs. But you got to go through them in order to grow, in order to become this extraordinary person that you were put here to be. So, yeah, none of us woke up successful. We've all been through all of these humps and bumps. But as long as you realize that that's part of the richness, I mean, I think about life as sort of like this rich tapestry. It's not like a blank canvas. And it's made up, woven of all the ups and the downs and the lessons and the trials and tribulations and the great victories and all of that. That's what a rich life is. A rich life is a life that experiences it all, that doesn't just sort of hide in the shadows being afraid of failing. And so I think this to strive for this rich life is far better than this sort of happy bumbling along life. It's the richness of experience that you really want to get to the end of your days without regret.
You really made me think of something here that I don't think I've ever, or at least haven't brought up in a very long time. One of the I worked a lot of crazy jobs growing up, but one of them was I was a pastry chef in a gourmet bakery. And one of the things I learned that in a lot of desserts, a lot of sweet treats, they actually add salt to bring out the
Yes.
flavor of the sweetness. And I think that it's kind of the way we can look at life is you kind of have to have that salty, soury, thing happening there so that you can truly realize how great the really sweet thing is.
Yeah, so you can get that great creation out of it at the end of the day. You're absolutely right. Great analogy. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I probably haven't told many people that was one of my many jobs growing up. Is I've held everything from driving a stick shift tractor around a summer camp as a maintenance worker to working at the Genius Bar at the Apple Store. So it's been a heck of an experience so far. But
That's
I
so awesome.
I really appreciate that, you're so willing to share, some of, your greatest, I guess, upsets in life. And now
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear, when was your proudest moment up until this point?
Oh, my proudest moment without a doubt was becoming a citizen of Canada. I was born a seventh generation South African with no ties to any other land. And I left before the end of apartheid. Where none of us knew what was going to happen, whether there was going to be a bloodbath. But the thing was, I didn't have an option. But I started the ball rolling by dreaming about living somewhere else, and it was America actually that I thought I wanted to go because I'd been to America when I was 21 and loved it. But the universe sort of guided me, and I ended up in Canada, and to become a citizen of Canada when I was a seventh generation white South African with no ties to anywhere, and certainly could not seek refugee status or anything else, to make that happen, that is truly, and to move alone with nothing and create an amazing life for myself, without a doubt my proudest accomplishment to this day. And
That's
there's been
awesome.
lots, but that one remains up there on its own.
That's awesome. So on top of that, what is your biggest dream in the moment? Like what is your, maybe a bucket list item to share with everyone?
Well, like I said to you when I was a kid, I wanted an airplane back there then, and I'm still obsessed with airplanes. So my own jet is definitely, to be perfectly materialistic with you, that is at the top of my bucket list.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I
I
just, as I say, just small little things, right?
Hey, you gotta have the big dream too, right?
You
Like,
got to, you
yeah,
got.
like I have the, I would call it like medium dreams, not small, not too large, but like, I want to go to Thailand and really travel the world. I've been to a few countries outside the US, but really not enough.
Yeah,
Israel was the closest I ever got to Asia and Europe, so I had never really got a chance to see, really neat places like South Africa, or,
yeah,
Thailand's one of my top ones on my list. So, you've always got to have that bigger dream to kind of keep you motivated and realize that all these tough steps in the process are really just to get you towards being able to do that.
yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I mean, obviously, the other huge thing for me, aside from the materialistic things, is that I have this absolute drive to change the way society looks at this whole soulmate thing, right? I mean, this is what fulfillment would be to me, is if, women and girls especially realized that their happiness actually lies in seeking their full potential. That the love is the cherry on the top of that. That their fulfillment, their happiness, their wholeness depends on seeking their own full potential. And to me, I'm absolutely driven to change the way girls are raised in our society, especially. So yeah, so there's that. I mean, obviously, we have materialistic dreams, and then we have these bigger altruistic dreams as well.
Yeah, and you've got a really great resource that allows people to kind of discover their own soulmate, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have an amazing program called Be Your Own Soulmate: 7 Steps to Love, Wealth, Adventure, and Freedom that's available on my website. And that's JacquieSomerville.com, which is JACQUIESOMERVILLE.com. But I also want to give your audience, Zephan, an amazing book that I wrote for free. And it's an ebook called 6 Secrets to Kick-Ass Courage and Confidence. Because, we spoke about breaking the rules and so on. And how do you do that? Well, you need to also have some courage and confidence. And this book teaches you how to do that. So you've got the courage to start breaking the rules, to start becoming what you're meant to be and not just what you're conditioned to be. So I'd love to give your audience that ebook for free. So we'll include a link for them, but it's JackieSomerville.com/ebook 2015. And when they enter their name and email, they will get that amazing ebook, which People from around the world have downloaded now by tens of thousands. And so I'd love to give that to your audience as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for, sharing those great resources with everyone. And we'll definitely be sure to send out the links to everyone so they can check
Yeah,
those out.
that would
And
be.
it's been great speaking to you. And I love hearing everyone's stories. Every time I jump on a call with people, it's like, oh, this will be really cool just talking to someone else. But I always come away after it like, wow, there are other just so many amazing people out there right now that are, making a difference, that are really living the way they want to, and that are living a life rescripted.
Yeah, well, your story is inspiring in itself. It's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear all the other summit interviews as well. So thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Zephan. Bye.